Welcome to the Daily Gospel Talk Show with your host, George Sanders. The talk show and podcast dedicated to spotlighting great people doing great things. This is your opportunity for inspiration, motivation, and encouragement. So without further delay, let's get ready for another incredible episode of the Daily Gospel Talk Show with your host, George Sanders.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Daily Gospel Talk Show. I'm your host, George Sanders, and today we're thrilled to have Dr. Monique Robinson with us. We'll delve into a captivating discussion about her talk show on the Daily Gospel Network, her dedication to raising awareness about HBCUs, and her efforts to help more African American students achieve their college dreams. But first, let's take a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere, as you don't want to miss this incredible conversation. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Looking for inspiration, motivation, and the good news of Jesus Christ? Look no further. The Daily Gospel Network has what you need. With more than 300 ministries from all over the country broadcasting every week, you're sure to get your dose of spirit-filled encouragement from the great programs on the Daily Gospel Network. Catch the Daily Gospel Network on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all mobile devices, and the internet.
Welcome back to the Daily Gospel Talk Show. I'm your host, George Sanders, and it's a pleasure to have Dr. Monique Robinson with us today. Dr. Monique is the host of A Better Chance for Youth on the Daily Gospel Network. She's also the founder of A Better Chance for Youth Futures Incorporated, where she champions HBCUs and works tirelessly to increase the college enrollment amongst African American students. We're excited to discuss her show, her passion for HBCUs, her impactful efforts to support students, and so much more. So without further ado, let's give a warm welcome to my good friend, Dr. Monique Robinson. Monique Robinson, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I am great. So another hot day in Texas, but I can't complain.
Well, you know, I'm right next door to you in Louisiana. It's hot here in Louisiana. I was just thinking the other day, I was at the water park with my daughter, and almost September, there was 94 degrees out there, and that was in the afternoon. And I'm like, my God, you know. But, things could be worse, I would imagine. I mean, so the sun was shining, and we had a great day at the park, and I'm sure I can tell that the weather is shining there in the great state of Texas, San Antonio, to be exact. Well, Monique, you and I have done this before, and we're so pleased and happy to have you. We're honored to have you not only on today's show, but we're honored to have you on the Daily Gospel Network. You've been a staple for 2 years, going into your third year on the network, and we're very appreciative because of the content that you bring and your service, particularly to the youth. Now, I say to the youth, but you actually are a service to the whole community because you're helping parents with their kids getting into college and finding resources to get them to, continued education. And that's a wonderful thing. So for those in my listening audience that may not know who Monique Robinson is, can you tell them just a little bit about yourself?
Well, to me, I am still every day trying to, I don't want to say redefine, but refine, because I am my own worst critic. I am an educator. I'm a motivator. I guess I would look at myself as a problem solver. Definitely an advocate. I'm an advocate for the small ones, you know, as a scholar who was overlooked in school often, and a person who has overcome battles with low self-esteem at one point in my life. You tend to want to pour in what help you get stronger to others. So in a nutshell, I would say that's, you know, who I am. Some people call me Miss Mo. Some people call me Dr. Mo. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm me.
Amen. Well, look, I'm gonna give you credit where credit is due. Dr. Mo, we gotta talk. Look, you see that you thought I was gonna overlook that, but that's quite an accomplishment. I tell you all the time, you're an extraordinary woman that's doing a lot for our community, and it's so important in this day and age. Sometimes we feel like our youth is lost, and we don't give them the credit that they deserve because they're smart, they're innovative, and they're doing things. But a lot of times we just kind of cast them off. And, not to quote the song, but the children are our future, and that's real. But I think sometimes when we're living in the moment, we're not understanding that there's 10 years down the road and there's 20 years down the road that we need to mold and shape these young folks into productive citizens and productive adults. So speaking of that, your show, A Better Chance for Youth, it highlights the youth, on your show. What made you go particularly into that direction?
Well, I'm a big person of giving people their flowers, because the push from you and the push from Anthony was like, look, you're a co-host, but it's more in you than that. Why don't you tell people who you are? And I was like, no, I'm kind of not ready. I like standing in the background. And I would never forget the first show that we shot under A Better Chance for Youth. And it was like, okay, I see why they're saying it, And here we are going into 3 years later, which is totally nothing but God, because I'm not a communication major. People who know me personally know I don't even like to talk in front of people like that. I will stand in the back and act like, become a fixture. But because of that, so we highlight the young people because they don't have a voice all the time. And it's a lot of young people who are entrepreneurs, who are impacting their community. And I come across them like every day. And they don't get that credit. And if nobody knows, nobody can support them. So that's the why with us.
Amen. Well, listen, we're definitely in your corner. We're going to support your show. We're going to support all your efforts because I know some of the things, we've talked in the past about some of the things you've done. And I'm saying, getting scholarships for kids that weren't even on the radar. I'm talking about kids that didn't even think their next step was college. So not only getting them admitted into a college, but getting them scholarships. Now, I like to think of you as a mentor, right? That's kind of how I look at you. But you're saying, no, George, we would like to be labeled as educational resources. Can you tell me a little bit about the difference and why do you want to be categorized in such a manner?
Definitely. A lot of times, and no shade or no disrespect to anyone who has a mentoring program. A lot of times people, you want that person to come along and save your child and this and that. We're not in the business for that. We're in the business to educate you and your child and give them nuggets to help them move on. In every community, especially minority community across the United States and probably overseas too, people are just doing pop-up mentoring programs for the sake of saying, hey, I want to help. But is your help really helping? One thing that I really take serious, even though I, play about, I take education serious. One, I also take people who are speaking into our scholars' lives seriously too. I get it. You may have a testimony that's great, that can motivate somebody, but are you really pouring in them and giving them the skills they need to be successful? For me, it's a lot of things that go into that. So we are considered an educational resource. Not only are we teaching them about HBCUs, we're giving them some financial literacy where, if a problem occurs while they're on campus, we're teaching them how to problem solve. And then we also are connecting with the family. A mentor is only going to talk to one person and reach that one. We're reaching families. So to me, that's why I say we're an educational resource. A parent can call me and say, hey, I don't understand this information. A mentor is not going to do that because a mentor's only goal is to pour into you to make you better, not teach you anything like that. So that's why I say we're different. You're like, oh God.
No, understood. And so I think, being a educational resource, you're providing, the wholesale opportunity for everybody to be involved. And that's what I like. It's just like what I said in the beginning. It's not just the youth, even though the central goal is to, turn that youth into a better student, turn that youth into a productive citizen, all of those things. But you're encompassing the family, the mom, the dad, the grandma, the brother and the sister, and all of these people, so that they're able to be a part and inclusive of this. Because when mom and dad are better equipped and have more knowledge, then they're making that child better, right?
Exactly.
The old saying, as they say, when you know better, you do better, right? And so when they know more, they're able to teach others. And I think from your standpoint, and you're, like I said, Mo, I've seen you travel around this country. I mean, you and Anthony bounce from HBCUs like, and then look, I'm gonna be honest with you. Most of the time when you hear people talk about HBCUs, you and I, we joke about this, about the bands and the football teams and stuff. And they just go to games. They just go see the band perform. You guys are really, particularly you, Mo, you're entrenched with the educators and the decision makers at the schools. And that's one of the ways and reasons that you're able to connect these kids with schools, and connect these kids with financial opportunities to go to school. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I want to get into that aspect, because school ain't cheap no more. Look, when I went to Southern University, I remember I think it was like $500 a semester.
Oh, well, it's on along from that.
Oh, well, again, I mean, it's 5-6 times that, right?
Yeah.
And by all accounts, HBCUs are, have great education, but one of the least, in terms of, financial obligations in terms of going to school. It's a wonderful trade-off. What you pay and what you get, man, you want to talk about value. It's incredible. So tell us a little bit about, why you're targeting HBCUs and what that all means in the greater scheme of what you're doing.
Well, we, when I first started the nonprofit, I was actually a school teacher, and it started as an after school program. It really did. And I would just take kids to homecoming, and it was mainly the kids in the school that were overlooked. And so we would meet after school, and I would tell them different things. And so the common problem was not that they, didn't want to go to school. The common problem was, hey, my mom never been to school. I don't understand this paperwork and things like that. And so I missed that school though, but I still talk to the kids, surprisingly. So we would go and we would talk. And so one of my scholars, the very first one we had to go to school, he went to Kentucky State. And, Kentucky State from Detroit, Michigan, that's night and day. But
culture shock. Like I've been to Kentucky. I'm like, no shade to Kentucky, but Detroit, which is probably, I think Detroit might be one of the top in terms of African American populations. I might be the top 5 in this country, and then Kentucky's probably on the other end of the spectrum in terms of African American. So yeah, that would be a culture shock. So how did that young man do?
He actually did well, but it always was a common problem of every time it was time to do financial aid and understand the scholarships and knowing the importance of the financial aspect. Don't get on campus and just because they are offering you a credit card, don't take it, because they're going to give you everything. I know when I went to school, it was the CDs. I think I probably still owe on them CDs, like the being whatever it was called. You get 10 CDs for 10 cents or whatever. But the financial gap, I'm serious, and we don't even listen.
I'm about to say, you kind of telling your age, Monique. Don't look. Well, in my time, it was penny cassettes. Is what it was. Okay. I shouldn't even say.
See, now I feel better. I don't feel too bad about the 10-cent CDs.
Well, it was a penny. It was a penny. You could send in a penny. I know it was RCA or somebody. A penny. You could send 1 penny, and you could get. But they didn't. You had to read the fine print. You had to then pay. I don't know. It was something
I
it
don't
still
know.
was minuscule. $20 for these 8 cassettes that you got. Yeah, but anyway.
So that was the gap. And then we also were, at that time, we were new. I, was just, one of those like upset because everybody that looked like me, they kind of wanted them to go to a community college, or they would be hoodwinked into going to the state schools because the states will have programs to milk you in, but they wouldn't do nothing to keep you there.
Right.
So, mainly the PWIs. Now, what happened in the drive for HBCUs is because, just going, name the elephant in the room. Most of your K-12 schools don't really have very many African American educators at that time, and our scholars, needed us. At that time in education, they were pushing certification, which pushed out, the loving and nurturing teachers and replaced them with people that was just there because you passed the certification test. I know I probably shouldn't go that realm or that deep, but
no, I understood.
that made a big difference. It took away some of our most valuable educators who really loved the students and really cared, who wasn't there just, hey, you gonna pass this test, I got a goal to meet. It took away that. And so when I start seeing those trends, and one of my biggest, I'm a big fan, even though she's deceased, is Marva Collins. She changed the educational system in Chicago based off of what she was experiencing, and created her own schools and her own methods of teaching scholars. And I was like, okay, well, you got somebody for K-12. Why don't I go deeper and let's get these kids to college because they feel like they can't. I don't want to be, 70, 80 years old and the people I'm teaching supposed to take care of me, and I didn't make that impact that I needed to make. And so that is the why, and why I love HBCUs. I know you asked that too. Why I love HBCUs so much is because although I really did everything under the sun, and hopefully, allegedly, hopefully none of my classmates, will eventually tell or spill the beans, but I literally did everything to reject the school I was at. Like, I did not want to be there. I would come in late. I wasn't making and doing things I was supposed to do. But then when I had my reality check, if you're a freshman in college, you're going to have this reality check, trust me, of how bad do you want it, And my parents were boots or books type parents. And then I was like, I better quit playing around with this campus and start taking stuff serious and get involved. And so when I start changing, the who and why I was there, I joined the university chorus. I was able to become a soloist. I was able to be invested into my education. All my friends, every convocation, they would get, every honors convocation, they would get noticed. And I started seeing my GPA go up and different things like that. And it was like, okay, I deserve to be here. Nobody, it's not a secret. I barely graduated high school. That's everybody knows that. If you heard my testimony, you know that. And what happens with young people who feel like they don't belong somewhere, they tend to self-sabotage to make themselves not be great. And when I look back at it and I think about everything that happened at Wilberforce, from becoming a university choir soloist, from meeting some of the best friends, like we still talk. We was on the phone the other day, some of my choir sisters, for like hours. And you built that type of relationship that I know the scholars that I teach didn't get in K-12. Just name it for them. You didn't get that in K-12. You didn't get that bond. A lot of people don't even know who their tribe is, who their support circle is. Some people have friends, and I'm just, that's big to me too. Have friends that really aren't. They're just with you because you popular, or with you because they're along the ride. But I honestly can say, I have some grade school friends. Don't get upset. But the bond and sisterhood and things that, motivate me and Like I can call anywhere in the United States, and one of my Wilberforce choir sisters will be there for me.
Wow.
Or brothers. I can't leave them out too. With me not living near my parents, I have some family, you know, I'm very protective of my parents, by the way. You didn't know this about me, Mr. George.
Oh no, I do.
But I joke about it, but my mom and dad are like the choir parents. If people see them out, and they know, my friends know how much that, like, it don't hurt my feelings, but I feel some type of way. Like they will take a picture and be like, look who I seen today. And I'm like, really? You just gonna hug my parents? You know, but now looking at it as an older adult and understanding, you know, I would want somebody to do that for me if, you know, I didn't have that, you know, in my life. So that's the why. You know, it's not just, the HBCU is not just a college. It's not just, you know, a place. You know, it's one of those, it's a lifelong experience. I was watching something or listening to a sermon, because I love affirmations and motivational things. And the question was asked, do you want a person in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime? And I, you know, sometimes reflect and I journal and and I was like, you know what? The people I thought were in my life just, you know, for a season, you know, they actually were in for all reasons. The reason, you know, was because I needed somewhere to go to school that would accept me for me. The season and was because I was at a point in my life where everything was happening. I don't know. You know me so well. You probably heard this before. My freshman year at Wilberforce is when my sister was diagnosed with AIDS. It was my Wilberforce family who hugged me, asked me anything I needed. And I'm a very private type person. I don't like to share my business. So for me to be vulnerable, like I grew at Wilberforce. I went in as a child, came out as a woman, ready to make moves. And lifetime is because it's been almost over 30 years that I've graduated from Wilberforce. Well, I don't want to age myself that bad, but it'll be 25 years next year.
Amen.
That I've been out of school, and I literally can call anybody. I can call any of my friends, and they will, Monique, what you need? Monique, what's going on? Or I say, hey, you know, I have a scholar that's near you. They're in campus and they might need some support. Maybe you take them out to lunch or something, and that support is there. So I know a lot of people have offered, and I'm gonna be really transparent with you. Some people, oh, why don't you, you know, connect with this, you know, PWI? They might do this for your program. I don't want that. I have students that come to me from PWIs to get them into
yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because they don't get the same love and same nourishment. Now it's okay, no knocking PWI. It's almost like a kinder, when you take your kinder to school. Take your kindergarten somewhere where they can get nurtured and the foundation is laid. When they're ready to move on, and when they have got all the skills that you have poured into them, then they can go out. So I was that student. Like, all my undergrad is probably the only degree I really talk about, because that's where I learned the most and that's where I grew. Graduate school and above were at PWIs. However, if I didn't go to Wilberforce, I promise I wouldn't have passed statistics.
You would. That's right. And that's one of the things I say about Southern University. It laid a foundation, and it was more than just academics.
Right.
I learned about George Sanders there. I learned, you know, what I liked, what I didn't like. You know, so much as a youth. You know, when you're in grade school, you're still living with your parents or whatever your situation may be. You don't know who you are
at all,
right? Because most people are telling you who you are and what to do and when to do it. And so now you go off to college and you have this bit of freedom. You're able to explore things. And one of the things that I love about, you know, HBCUs, people from all over the country. I mean, I met people. Oh my God. I met people from Los Angeles and Chicago and New York and Miami and all these different places that I never been to. And I got to understand about these places. And even a lot of times on spring breaks and summer times, we'll go with my friends back home and all those things. And it was a wonderful experience. But more importantly, it was people that looked like me.
My parents graduated from Wilberforce. I did everything in my power to not go to Wilberforce. Where did I end up and what changed my life?
Wow, I'm so much looking forward to that. And I agree with you. I think your show is a perfect combination of what can be done for the youth, but also involving parents and support forces, support efforts, whether it's parents, grandparents, relatives, counselors at school.
Yes.
And I've seen you and I've seen you do this. I mean, I watch your episodes all the time, and I've seen you have, kids on there as young as 5 and 6 with their parents. And it's just a wonderful thing that you're starting off young, and we want to encourage you to continue that, Mo. And I'm just so happy to not only interview you today, but have you start your 3rd year on the network. And we're super excited. And we're going to have all of a better chance for youth information. So the times that you can watch it on the Daily Gospel Network. And we got some special stuff coming up because I'm going to be co-hosting 2 or 3, 4 shows with her coming up. And we're going to be doing some new set designs and some things. But yeah, you guys will see that when it comes out. We're working on that as we speak. So I want to thank you, Dr. Monique Robinson, for being on the Daily Gospel Talk Show. We really appreciate you. We appreciate all the things that you're doing, particularly for the youth and Black folks everywhere. Now, I mean, not that she don't do anything for other folks, but man, I sure appreciate what she's doing for Black folks. We really appreciate it. We need to encourage more people to get involved and do some other things as well. So until next time, I want to thank you, the listening audience, for chiming in today and listening to this wonderful show. I pray that the content has been a blessing to you. I know that it has. So thank you, Dr. Monique. Thank you to listening audience. So until next time, I want you to do me 2 favors. Stay safe and let the Lord bless upon you. You know why? Because you're one of his children. And how fantastic is that? So until next time, take care. We'll see you then.
Tune in to A Better Chance for Youth television show with host Monique Robinson on the Daily Gospel Network, the television show dedicated to highlighting incredible students on their quest to change the world. Join us every week as we uplift the youth and help them on their journey to the bright future they deserve. Catch A Better Chance for Youth television show with host Monique Robinson on the Daily Gospel Network.
Looking for inspiration, motivation, and the good news of Jesus Christ? Look no further. The Daily Gospel Network has what you need. With more than 300 ministries from all over the country broadcasting every week, you're sure to get your dose of spirit-filled encouragement from the great programs on the Daily Gospel Network. Catch the Daily Gospel Network on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all mobile devices, and the internet.
Thanks for tuning into the Daily Gospel Talk Show with your host, George Sanders. The talk show and podcast dedicated to spotlighting great people doing great things. Join us next time for your weekly dose of inspiration, motivation, and encouragement. So until then, stay safe and God bless from your friends at the Daily Gospel Talk Show and host George Sanders.
Attention ministry leaders. Have you ever considered growing your ministry with television? Well, the Daily Gospel Network could be what you've been looking for. As one of the nation's largest Christian broadcasting companies, the Daily Gospel Network broadcasts all over the world on popular streaming platforms like Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. If you're looking to grow and reach more people, the Daily Gospel Network could be your solution.